Okay, we have 2 hours to assemble Adam LZ's kit before we all leave for Florida, and he has a Pro 1 round in only a couple weeks. We finished all the specifications that were required and suggested by his team. After 2 seasons of running these, we made very, very small modifications based on the sheer amount of camber, caster, and KPI that Adam likes to run. All these values are ridiculously high, and we had to do a couple things to get the bearing angles perfected for that. But when we sell these kits, you're gonna be required to run all the same specs that he runs. And let me tell you, they're extreme. And we really need to talk about those rear trailing arms. Those were supposed to be billet. I thought I could do it. Morning.
Morning, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good.
We're taking over, you gonna help us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we're gonna compare our regular E46 lowers to the LZ spec. They could have been the exact same, but because he wants to run so much caster, we actually had to bring the L shape of this arm. We had to tighten it up a little bit right here. Because he runs it in such a way that brings his forward, we just had to design that into the arm so that he still has lollipop length. And we'll put a photo here of how long he was running his lollipop, which worked fine, it was fine, but we're going to make his alignment specs be the standard for this kit. Otherwise, the arm's the exact same length. We also put a 10-degree kick on the end of the arm, but angled it so that it goes backwards as well as corrects the camber. And the reason for that is because his caster value is 9.5, 10 degrees caster. We're gonna verify that on the computer, but it's very high. We needed to get the bearing to sit at a better angle. This is not an issue with any of our kits. We recommend running 7.5 to 8.5. These have an angle in the bearing that you can see here. Adam ran with this arm, and this angle was fine, but the spacer was just touching the edges of the cup, the misalignment spacers. They took a little bit off the spacer and it fixed it, but we want to just put that into the arm as a standard. The knuckle itself is, once again, identical geometry other than these spacers, and move the shock off of the knuckle, which realistically doesn't correct much. This is less than a 1% difference, but it assists with getting the scrub radius to where Adam wanted it to be while having a good shock angle and stuff. So really, it doesn't change much, but it just mimics exactly what he was going for with his weight jacking, with his caster, with all of that. Moved the Ackerman adjustment and put it in the furthest positive position. Reason for this is where Adam runs it. This is where we're selling this kit. You're only gonna be able to drive what Adam drives, and I mean, it works. He is the fastest car on grid. He has the most control of the car, and he gets the most feedback to the driver through the steering wheel, which I've talked about a lot. All of these values being super high gives the driver more data. It's like turning up the force feedback and all of the characteristics of a sim setup, and getting the better direct drive wheel, getting better all of these things so that you have more information. That is essentially what he's doing, but in real life with how we've set up these knuckles. So geometry, trail, offsets, roll center, all of this is the same as our current kits, but we're just fixing the Ackerman adjustment. Other than that, he uses our caster plate and runs that in the maximum rearward position, and also brings the camber inward, which increases the KPI, increases his camber. I believe his camber was somewhere around -9 last year, but we're gonna be setting up new values this year and then logging what we do. KPI angle was somewhere around 23 degrees, and his, like I said, his caster was also very high. So he's running the camber plate opposite to how all these big angle kits actually decide or tell you to run them, and he's just maxing out all these values. So when we go over this on the car, it's going to be a real eye-opener versus what the traditional setups are. And I mean, Adam is in the running for winning FD pretty much the last 2 years, only being taken out by accidents and chassis faults and other things. If he's on, he's basically destined to win based off of his win-loss ratios. Going from that, we have something to talk about, which is the rear trailing arm, which I'll show you here. I recently designed this week because we do not have the billet parts completed yet. but that isn't really the issue. We need to test all of the geometry and the design of this. The most robust way and the fastest way to do that is with a fabricated component that we can easily modify or adjust, and it's not going to cost us an arm and a leg to do it. So this is expensive, like time-wise, but in terms of repeatability, we could build this again tomorrow. Whereas if we want to machine a full billet block again, we're going to be waiting a few weeks just because of the sheer amount of time and setup there is on that. So we're running this setup. This is essentially an M3 OEM spec trailing arm, and we've built in his Willwood brake brackets right into the knuckle, which removes, fasteners and redundancies. So he's going to be able to throw on his Willwood setup right onto this, and there's not going to be any issues with that setup. Also OEM shock bolt, and then we have our toe adjustment design going here as well. So we're going to be able to shim this as he wishes and set up the toe a bit easier than sliding these blocks all the time. He can still slide these in and out to adjust the toe, but it's going to be easier to do shims. We're going to be assembling this quickly so that my brother can take this on his trip down. Yeah, Mike's probably a master at the whole bearing prep and everything.
I'm already on it. Yeah, I was waiting for you to get out of the way so I could get the die grinder.
Yeah, so Mike's going to be tackling the bearings and fitting. I mean, that's pretty much what he does all day. I'm going to put this back, and we're going to basically start setting up the hardware and the spacers for all of these components. So, spacers. We need M12 uniball spacers. HUS should be these Johnnies.
How's it going, Mike?
Pretty good, man.
Pretty smooth?
Yeah, this is actually working way better than I thought it would. I was like, how am I going to press these bearings in? Because there's all this crap in the way.
Right.
Normally we use those guys over there for the audience, right?
Yeah.
And it's pretty easy to use those ones because it's fastened to the table, but there's all this crap in the way. I can't use the table, so I have to use this little jig that I've made up with a little bolt and a washer and a big piece of Delrin so we don't damage the knuckle here. So just take the nut off and then boom, bearing's in there. Just needs a snap ring now. Ta-da!
Sweet.
Better.
It's a little unorthodox the way that I'm doing this right now, but going for simple is key when it comes to 5-minute calls, drifting setups at this level. You definitely want to master and perfect what works and then duplicate as simple as possible. These bump stops line up real nice with the control arms limits, and because he's running a full Willwood setup, I believe the OEM rotor clears it as well, but we have quite a bit of room here to put the jam nuts so he can set up his mechanical lead and trail limits. This is also standard on our regular kit as well. 2 of those. So basically we want the ability to adjust our bump steer because of the amount of caster being run. Whenever you adjust caster, it's going to raise and lower the tie rod relative to the control arm. And if you increase caster like this, you're going to want to lower the tie rod mount to maintain bump steer, and if you reduce it, you're going to want to raise it. This is a nice strong improvement. We just need to now add spacers in the corresponding bearings. Then this thing's ready to rock. Clean these threads. Good to go. That's the unit. All right, we got the kit assembled. Joe's gonna be here in 10 minutes. This is a look at what's to come for the LZ spec stuff. He's gonna throw this on, verify some things, get the first round out of the way, and then we're gonna perfect and release this as a LZ spec product, specifically speaking on the front setup. The rear actually isn't specific to Adam at all. This is an OEM M3 trailing arm replica. It's essentially identical to an M3 rear trailing arm, and this is going to be something that we'll be selling in a billet form, available for road race guys, drift guys if you want, and it's essentially just going to replace it because there is a need for that. The shock mounts tend to snap off. The knuckles are weak in general, right in this area on the OEM ones. They tend to snap here due to all the forces. The toe adjustment brackets are not very good, so this is just a simple, better design. So this is going to be available down the road as a general product, not LZ specific. He's going to be running it through its paces though, giving us a good result on the testing side of things. So he's actually kind of a test dummy for these. In the comments, I want you guys to participate in something. Guess how long this took to assemble, the process that you guys just watched. Put it in the comments.